Yeah, well, county officials here say that it's snow that melted from this winter and recent rainfall that has caused the lake here to rise to above 4 feet than normal. So it is high, and it is coming onto a lot of properties here. And we're at the west end of Crooked Lake. We met with the Ritchie family. They say that their yard used to make them proud. Now it's part of the lake, and they have pumps working 24/7 in order to desperately try to keep this property dry. Sharon Ritchie has spent months placing sandbags around her home. The lake water is relentless, creeping closer to her front door each day.
And if they gets any higher, the lake doesn't go down, we won't be able to keep our home.
She's not alone. Mike Dooley hasn't been on the lake yet this year because his family has been pumping water nonstop also. He and his wife hardly get any sleep anymore.
We've been here almost 40 years, 79, and we've never seen it like this.
Mike took us out onto the lake in his pontoon, showing us furniture sitting on top of phantom docks, homes that have water up to their doors, some missing entire backyards. And it doesn't end there. East Shore Drive is turning into a lake itself, traffic pushing water onto nearby yards. Barry County Drain Commissioner Jim Dull says there are no great short-term solutions.
You would think there would be some kind of an emergency solution, and we just can't find it. You know, that's the kind of stuff that just keeps you up at night trying to think, what are we missing here? There's got to be something we're missing, and we don't seem to find that.
If it is true that it's going to be a long-term fix, then I think that it's really serious for a lot of people.
Dull says that right now the county is working on a long-term solution, but in the meantime, if someone were to say, hey, I've got 100 acres of land that you can use to store some of this water, that he feels he can have pumps here in a couple weeks if they're able to. And Ritchie says, boy, that would be a welcome change, because you see the lake, here are her sandbags, and here's part of the lake seeping through. She says she does not have a lot more time before she really legitimately worries about losing her home. We're live at Crooked Lake. Jorge Rodas. Homeowners were hoping that a plan to start pumping water out of this overflowing lake would start relatively soon, but the Barry County Drain Commissioner tells us tonight that that plan is now in question. Bob and Sharon Ritchie have been blindsided. Hope to save their property and those of dozens at Upper Crooked Lake has been all but destroyed.
Hearing no options, no plan, basically no hope, that all this effort and we still might lose our home. I think that sums it up.
Barry County Drain Commissioner Jim Dull says a promising plan to pump to 2 area farms is dead in the water.
Right here we put a culvert in anticipation of pumping, setting a pump up.
But the landowners have pulled out, leaving Dull with almost no options.
If we were 4 weeks ago, knowing that we were going to go down this road and we had 6 weeks of pumping, they would be on board. You know, that you just can't, but at that point we didn't realize that this would be an option.
That means no immediate relief, with even more trouble on the horizon.
Yeah, we're quite panicky about the fact that there's rain in the forecast and the fact that we'll flood again.
When you fight against Mother Nature, you typically don't win. She's got a lot more power than we do. On a 6,000 acre watershed, it's possible it could add 3 inches back into the lake.
Ritchie says 3 inches means water could start to get right up to and perhaps even into her home. That's obviously something she doesn't want to happen, neither any of the other homeowners here in the area. Dull tells us that he's not giving up trying to find a solution, but he says right now there's nothing promising in the works. Live at Upper Crooked Lake, Jorge Rodas, News Channel 3.
It's a sight homeowners at Upper Crooked Lake in Dalton have been waiting months to see. The county began work today pumping water out of the overflowing lake. Homeowners have been slowly losing their land.
Yeah, News Channel 3's Jorge Rodas was in Barry County to talk to homeowners about these new developments. He joins us now live in the newsroom. George?
Yeah, well, some homeowners say whatever help this brings may be too little too late, but for many, progress is progress, and people are telling us they're just happy to see something happening. The work started early. Crews with cordis trenching, shutting down one lane on M43 south of Delton to get equipment into place. The plan is to put sandbags here so no more water goes into Upper Crooked Lake.
We're gonna go 8 feet each way and then 15 feet out.
Next is placing a pump on top to route water into Glasby Lake.
Thank God.
Berry County Drain Commissioner Jim Dahl.
I agree, this has taken longer than what we anticipated, but if we can get this water off in the next month, that should get the ground settled down a little bit for them going into winter.
We have water just steps from our front door, where we used to be out all the way beyond our pier.
Deb Engelhardt still fears for her home. She and her husband have been pumping groundwater back into the lake 24/7. She says to avoid turning her home into a houseboat. She's feeling a sense of relief knowing something is now being done.
I am very hopeful that this is the beginning and we can find other solutions and it's going to move on from here.
Dahl says the hope is to fill Glasby Lake with a foot of water. His engineers believe that would take 6 inches off of Upper Crooked Lake.
We think that will be the difference between where they're at now and to a point where they can stop pumping to save their homes.
So what's next? Dahl says pumping. He was hoping by tomorrow morning, but the company contracted to install that pump is now saying that will happen Friday. The county is still looking for more places to pump water and will update you if they find any.
Homeowners at Eagle and Crooked Lakes in Kalamazoo County say the longer they wait for flood relief, the more they worry they're going to lose their homes. Jorge Rodas has more after meeting with some of the homeowners.
Walter, the lake levels continue to rise, which means the water continues to creep up to the properties of the homeowners here at Eagle Lake. We're on the south end of the lake. There are sandbags lining properties, several houses in either direction. This is Nancy Hall and Jackie Wolthuis's short-term fix. Sandbags, hundreds of them, telling us it's the best they have while they stand and wait for help.
We're not standing alone. We're very thankful for that.
When everybody comes to help you, it brings tears to your eyes because people are so good to you.
What hasn't been good is the weather. Rain when they don't need it. The water's so high it's filling basements at some homes, taking beachfront and front yards from others.
We lost the battle on Labor Day night in that driving rain.
It just was overwhelming. It just came right straight through my basement.
Devastating for our people. This is their biggest asset in their life, and it's for many people destroyed.
Cassie Casterline is board director for the Eagle Lake Association. She says people along the lake are finding it difficult to get anyone to care that they're suffering. They're asking Texas Township, Kalamazoo County, and state leaders to help find a short-term solution while they work on a long-term fix.
So I want them to know we all care, we're all working hard. Locally, the short-term solution will be led by the local officials, and then the long-term solution is going to be a team partnership with the state and federal government.
People need relief. People need help, and we don't have an answer. We don't have solutions. We're coming into winter. It's going to get a lot worse for a lot of people, unfortunately.
Rain isn't our friend right now, so pray to the rain gods to stay away.
We've reached out to the Kalamazoo County Drain Commission to see if they have any updates on any plans for short-term solutions to this problem. As soon as they tell us, we will update you.
Usually it's out there and it's a nice thing to look at. It usually doesn't come up and visit.
Mark Nelson says the water is like a family member overstaying their visit. It just won't leave his home on Peninsular Drive. The water's taking away what once was his personal little beach. The rocks that lined the lake shore are still visible, but under a lot of water.
Right there. That line right there and these right here.
This tree helps us measure how much the levels have gone down. Clearly, though, levels are still high.
But this is the first time I've had to build my own walls.
Mark now has to deal with the fact that the county has run out of options, which means he and dozens of other homeowners here are too. The county says several property owners just backed out of a deal to allow pumping onto their land.
Right now we're basically treading water, which is a hell of a way to put it.
For a little over a month now, the county has been pumping water out of Upper Crooked Lake across M43 into Glasby Lake. Now let's take a look above. You can see that the wetlands here have a lot of water. That's because the county has already reached the limit of how much water they can pump into Glasby Lake. If they can't start pumping again, if the ground doesn't soak this water up, then the water that is in Upper Crooked Lake will have to stay there.
The big challenge is what's going to happen come winter. If we can't pump another foot of water out of here, then what happens to foundations like at this house?
This pump rests quietly along M43 at full stop. Crooked Lake's water no longer flowing into Glasby Lake. That's because the county has already filled Glasby to its limit. And with no other parcels of land on which to dump Upper Crooked's water, homeowners are scrambling to prepare for what could be a long, destructive winter.
10 feet of my shoreline's still gone. The water's still at the level that when it freezes, it'll crack up my cement and cause other problems.
Drain Commissioner Jim Dole says there was a plan to pump water on nearby property, but those landowners backed out Wednesday. He was hoping to have the lake down 2 feet by now. Instead, it's down hardly at all.
We're just fighting an uphill battle against Mother Nature right now.
I have little or no confidence because we don't have any information that leads us that something's going to happen. You've got to take your valuables to high ground. It's what it comes down to.
Mark Nelson says he was emotional when he first saw the pumps were cut off. His fear of losing his property greater than it's ever been.
I bought a place that I could live on here at the end of the road.
His place is already drifting beyond the end of the road as water continues to chip away, the county making a late, desperate plea for help.
If somebody's thinking about selling a 40-acre property, we'd be tickled to death to talk to them right now.
They've been fighting back floodwaters for months, and every time it looks like they're gaining a little bit of ground, more rain or snow comes along.
Yeah, News Channel 3's Jorge Rodas talked to homeowners in Delton about their constant struggles.
Upper Crooked Lake levels are still 4 feet higher than they should be, according to the Barry County Drain Commissioner. He tells us that for a lot of the homeowners here, the water is just about an inch below their seawall. That could pose some problems for what's coming this weekend.
Hospital, but the emotions are still.
Carol Snow has already seen enough.
It's the worst we've ever had, and I've given up on it.
She's given up on her dream retirement.
I'm going to move out of here. I've retired since '08, and this is my retirement time, my relaxed time. This is not relaxing. So give it up to somebody else to worry about.
Right now, that somebody else is Jim Dole, County Drain Commissioner, and the man who says he's tried plan after plan to bring lake levels down. 1 year since this all started, and he says water is still just about as high. His worry now is an inch or two of rain on top of snow and ice that's already melting here.
If the ground is dry, then some of that gets absorbed. If the ground is frozen, luckily right now it's not frozen, but if it would be, all that has to drain off.
Dole says an inch of rain doesn't equal an inch higher on the lake. It's more like double because water around the lake drains in.
It could be real bad by the first of the week.
Snow says she's done worrying, already looking forward to moving on from what should have been her little slice of heaven.
I used to look out at the lake and think how peaceful it is, and it doesn't look peaceful anymore to me. It looks like a disaster area.
Several homeowners in this area have created a task force collecting local and state leaders and also representatives from several state agencies to get them all in one room, one group, so they can come up with a fix to their problem. Right now, though, no timeline for a fix. In Delton, Jorge Rodas, News Channel 3. It's one more plan added to the long list of fixes that cannot be for Jim Dole.
It's like putting a puzzle together and you're almost there and you just can't finish the puzzle.
The Barry County Drain Commissioner says the DNR's report shows the county would only be able to pump a small amount of lake water into Springbrook at a time, making that option not worth the trouble, saying it would take too long to even reduce lake levels 1 foot.
It'd take us about 18 months.
Sharon Ritchie says homeowners just don't have that much time.
This is scary. We have people losing their home. We have not been able to go someplace together since February because one has to stay home and babysit the pumps in the house.
Ritchie gave us a look at how things were before. This picture is 8 years old.
But you can see how much beach was before the seawall.
This is how it looks today. Iced over lake water up to the seawall. Sandbags protecting properties.
Yeah, it just feels like we failed.
Dole is trying to stay optimistic something will come together. Ritchie feels the same, saying the new Crooked Lake Flooding Task Force has brought the right people into the same room to come up with a viable solution.
To have a group collectively involved, committed to this, offering their wisdom, thinking about paradigms, maybe a way to do something differently, that is encouraging for me.